At my sister's wedding, I was seated in the hallway. So I left. What happened next shocked. Everyone, my name is Bella Hayes. I'm 29 years old. I live in Boston and I work in marketing. They said it was just a mix-up with the seating chart, but I knew better. You can only erase someone for so long before the truth finds. It's way back in, the drive to the wedding in Vermont took 4 hours. 4 hours of me telling myself to be positive. 4 hours of me practicing a smile in the rearview mirror. Maybe this time will be different. It was the same stupid hope I always had, and it always let me down. The venue was beautiful. A huge, rustic lodge overlooking a lake that looked like glass. Chloe always got the best. The air was cold and smelled like pine. I pulled my coat tighter. I had spent too much money on my wine-colored dress, trying to look like I belonged. I walked into the lobby. It was warm, filled with fireplaces and flowers. A young woman with a clipboard and a headset smiled at me. "Welcome. Name, please?" "Bella Hayes," I said. Her eyes scanned the list. She smiled politely, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Ah, yes, Ms. Hayes. Right this way." She led me away from the grand entrance to the ballroom, where I could hear music and laughter. She led me down a carpeted, windowless corridor. It was the service hallway, the one that smelled like floor wax and old food. We stopped. There, next to a buzzing ice machine and a set of double doors that led to the kitchen, was a single, small, round table. It was covered with a white cloth, but it was the wrong size. It was too short. But before I tell you how everything flipped, like and subscribe, and drop a comment where are you watching from. On the table was one name tag. Bella Hayes. Bella Hayes. Hallway table, right this way, the coordinator said, her voice bright and fake. I stared at her. I thought she was joking. My face must have shown it because her smile tightened. "Is there a problem?" she asked. I think there's a mistake, I said. My voice sounded small. "I'm the bride's sister." Her face didn't change. "This is where they have you on the chart. If you'll excuse me, I have to seat the other guests." She wasn't joking. She walked away, her footsteps disappearing on the carpet. I stood there for a full minute. The kitchen doors burst open, and a waiter holding a tray of champagne rushed past, nearly knocking me over. "Watch it," he muttered. My hands were shaking. I slowly pulled out the single chair. It was a metal folding chair, not like the beautiful wooden ones I could see inside the ballroom. I sat down. The chair wobbled. The table shook every time a waiter passed. Through the glass-paned doors at the end of the hall, I could see everything. I could see the chandeliers, the laughter, the dance floor, everything I wasn't invited to. And when I finally stood to leave, I had no idea the night would end with screaming. Growing up, my family never forgot to remind me who the star was. My sister Chloe was the golden girl. It's not just a phrase. It was her job. She had blonde hair that fell in perfect, effortless curls, even in the humidity. She had a laugh that made people stop and turn. And she knew from a very early age how to use it. When she was 7, she was in the Little Miss Sunshine pageant. I remember this so clearly. Mom spent weeks sewing sequins onto a tiny pink dress. Dad took out his big clunky video camera. Chloe's talent was singing "Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star." She forgot the words halfway through, put her hands on her hips and giggled. I forgot. The judges loved it. They gave her the crown. She didn't win because she was good. She won because she was cute. That pageant crown sat on our living room mantel for the next 10 years. I, on the other hand, was the quiet one. I remember that same year, I won my class spelling bee. I won on the word sincerely. I came home clutching the little blue ribbon. I was so proud my chest felt tight. I ran into the kitchen. "Mom! Dad, I won!" Mom was on the phone, twisting the cord around her finger. She looked up, put her hand over the receiver and whispered, "That's nice, honey. Go play. Chloe's having a crisis about her dance recital costume." I stood there. "But I won." "Bella, not now." I went to my room. I pinned the blue ribbon to my bulletin board. It looked small and stupid. This was the pattern. Chloe's life was a series of loud, bright, expensive emergencies. My life was a series of quiet, invisible achievements. When Chloe was 16, she wanted a car. Dad said no. She cried. She screamed. She slammed her door. She refused to eat for one entire afternoon. A week later, a red convertible was in the driveway. When I turned 16, I asked if I could practice driving in Mom's sedan. Dad said, "You're independent. Bella, you can just take the bus, right? It's better for you." He meant it was easier for him. At family dinners, Thanksgiving, Christmas, the entire table was Chloe's stage. "Chloe, tell us about your internship." "Chloe, that boy, is he serious?" "Chloe, your hair. You look just like a movie star." Then all eyes would swivel to me for a polite, required 30 seconds. "And Bella, still in Boston?" "Still doing that. Marketing thing? Good. Good for you." And swivel. Back to Chloe. It was like I was a piece of furniture. A necessary, quiet, easy-to-handle lamp in the corner. You need the lamp, but you don't talk to it. You don't applaud it. You just expect it to work. Mom said it all the time. "You're easier to handle, Bella." Thank God. If I had two Chloes, I'd lose my mind. I used to think it was a compliment. I thought it meant I was strong or mature. But easier to handle just meant easier to ignore. Independent just meant you're on your own. I remember in high school, I won a statewide science fair. It was a big deal. I was invited to a dinner, given a plaque. I had designed a small-scale water filtration system. I was so proud. The night of the awards dinner, Chloe had a fight with her boyfriend. I came home holding my plaque. I walked into the living room. Mom was on the couch, rubbing Chloe's back, who was sobbing into a pillow. Dad was pacing. He said my prom dress was tacky, Chloe wailed. A full 3-hour family drama unfolded. Dad ended up calling the boy's father. Mom made tea. I stood in the doorway holding my plaque. No one looked at me. After an hour, I went to my room. I set the plaque on my dresser. I just looked at it. This was my life. I was the supporting actress in The Chloe Show. My only job was to be quiet, stay off stage, and never, ever miss a cue to applaud. My achievements weren't real. My problems weren't real. Only Chloe was real. This pattern, this toxic one-way street, was all I had ever known. It had been carved into our family dynamic, as deep and as permanent as a canyon. And I was the one who was always at the bottom, in the shadow, looking up. This hallway seat, this humiliation. It wasn't the first time. It was just the loudest. The old wound, the one that this new one was scraping raw, had been opened 3 years earlier. I was 26. Mom was selling our childhood home. The house was too big for her now that Dad had moved into his own condo after their quiet, polite divorce. She was moving to a smaller place, and I had driven down to help her pack up the attic. Of course, I was the one who drove down. Chloe was just too swamped with a huge project at her new job, which meant she was probably at brunch, so I went. I spent a Saturday in the hot, stuffy attic, sneezing from dust. The air was thick with the smell of old paper, cedar, and mothballs. It was the smell of my entire childhood. We were sorting through boxes. Old, sagging cardboard boxes labeled in Mom's handwriting. Christmas '95. Old clothes. Dad's taxes. Then I found them. In a big plastic bin, stacked neatly, were the family scrapbooks. Mom loved scrapbooking when we were kids. It was her one real hobby. "Oh, look," I said, my voice softer than I expected. "I remember these." I pulled one out. It was heavy. I sat on an old trunk, the wood creaking under me. Mom sat next to me, wiping a smudge of dust off her cheek. We started to flip through them. The first book was Bella and Chloe, The Early Years. And for a few minutes, it was nice. It was normal. It was full of pictures of us. Me? A chubby baby in a high chair covered in spaghetti. Chloe, as a toddler with a giant crooked bow, trying to help me. There were pictures of us in the bathtub, bubbles in our hair. Our first day of school, holding hands, our metal lunchboxes glinting. A trip to Disney, both of us in Mickey Mouse ears. Me looking terrified of the person in the Goofy costume. Chloe hugging him. I remember that. Mom laughed. "You cried for an hour." Chloe didn't want to leave. It was proof. Proof that there was a time when we were a we. A time when the love was spread out, at least a little. I picked up the next book. The label said Chloe's School Days. I opened it, and just like that I was gone. It was full of Chloe. Page 1, Chloe's first grade play. She was a tree. There were 5 pictures of her in her little brown costume. Page 2, Chloe's first soccer trophy. Chloe with the team. Chloe holding the trophy. Chloe with Dad. Page 3, Chloe's 5th grade graduation. I was in a few pictures. In the background, out of focus, My face half hidden, my smile faded. I picked up the third book. Chloe, The High School Years. This one was thick. Every single page. Every single page. It was a shrine. Photos of Chloe at her first dance. Photos of Chloe at her sweet 16. Photos of Chloe with her friends. Her prom, which took up an entire 2-page spread. Her graduation, in her cap and gown, holding her diploma. I flipped through the last few pages, looking for something. Anything. I realized. I wasn't there. There wasn't a single picture of me past age 10. My own high school graduation? Not there. My trip to Spain in college, the one I had saved for 2 years to go on? Not a single photo. My 21st birthday? My own college graduation? It was like I had vanished. It was like I had simply ceased to exist. My throat felt tight. "Mom?" I said. My voice was quiet. It was hard to breathe. Where are my pictures?" Mom smiled softly. That same smile. The one that was meant to be kind but just felt empty. The one that erased me. "Oh, honey," she said, patting my hand. "You know how Chloe was, always in the spotlight. She loved having her picture taken." She looked back at the book, her eyes fond. "You," she said, you were always fine on your own. You were always fine on your own." I just stared at her. The dust motes danced in the single beam of light from the attic window. "I mean," she continued, clearly not seeing the look on my face, "you were always so independent. You didn't need all that fuss. Chloe needed it. You were always the strong one. The strong one. That's when I learned what strong one meant. Strong one meant ignorable one. Independent meant unloved one. Fine. On your own meant you will be on your own. It wasn't that she forgot to put my pictures in. It was that she never even thought to take them, my life, my achievements, my milestones. They weren't fuss, they were my life. And to her, they were nothing. Not worth documenting. Not worth remembering. I couldn't speak. Later that day, as I was emptying her old desk, I found my high school diploma. It wasn't in a frame. It was in a crumpled manila envelope, shoved in the back of a drawer with old bills, expired coupons, and a user's manual for a blender she didn't even own anymore. Chloe's diploma, I knew, was in a custom cherry wood frame in the living room. That was the old wound. I closed the scrapbook. "You're right, Mom," I said, my voice hollow. "I was fine on your own." She beamed, thinking I had given her a compliment. "I knew you'd understand." I drove back to Boston that night. I didn't speak to her for a month. She never even noticed. She just thought I was busy. That was the night I learned that silence could be both survival and exile. I had survived my childhood by being quiet, by not making a fuss, by being independent. I had avoided the drama and the tears that always followed Chloe, but in that silence, I had been exiled. I had been quietly and efficiently erased from my own family's history. When Chloe's wedding invitation arrived, I should have known better. It came on a Tuesday in April. I got home from work, my feet hurting, my shoulders tight from a long meeting. I checked my mailbox, and there it was. It was so thick and heavy it felt like a weapon, a thick cream-colored envelope. My name, Ms. Bella Hayes, was written in swirling, gold, expensive calligraphy. It looked threatening. My stomach twisted. I didn't want to open it. I went inside my apartment, dropped my bag, and poured a glass of wine. I sat on my couch. The invitation sat on my coffee table. I stared at it for a long time. This was a test. I knew it. A classic no-win trap from my family. If I didn't go, I was the bitter, jealous, difficult sister. I was the one making it about me. I would be the subject of hushed, angry phone calls for months. If I did go, I had to sit there for an entire weekend. I had to smile. I had to wear a nice dress. I had to watch the entire world, my parents, my relatives, all their friends, celebrate the person who had been the center of their universe and the black hole of mine. I had to watch them applaud the sun while I sat in the darkness. It was a performance, and I was being handed my script. I told myself it would be different this time. We're adults now, I thought, taking a sip of wine. I'm 29, she's 27, we're past all that high school nonsense. I was lying to myself. I knew it, but I wanted to believe it. I wanted so badly to have a normal family. Just for one day. I wanted to be the sister in the nice dress, smiling, and for it to be real. So I did all the things. I opened the invitation. Chloe and Noah request the honor of your presence. I went to their registry website. It was a list of things I could never afford. A $500 blender, a $700 vacuum, a 1000C honeymoon experience fund. I rolled my eyes and bought them a $200 set of crystal wine glasses. It was more than I could afford, but it was important. It had to look supportive. It had to be nice. Then came the bridal shower. It was a champagne brunch at a fancy hotel in Boston. I walked in and it was a lot. It was a sea of pink and white. Balloons, flowers, and about 30 women all shrieking, "Bella, you made it!" Chloe squealed, hugging me. It was a dry, papery hug. She smelled like perfume and hairspray. I sat at a table with her college friends. They all had perfect hair and tiny, expensive-looking dogs in their purses. They talked to each other, around each other, but not to me. I was invisible again. I just ate my tiny sandwich and sipped my champagne. We played games. How well do you know Chloe? I lost. Make a wedding dress out of toilet paper. My team's dress was called Sad by one of her friends. Then, the gifts, it was a mountain of beautifully wrapped boxes, and Chloe sat on a chair like a queen on her throne and opened them. One by one, oh my God! The blender, squeal! Oh my God, lingerie. You bitch! I love it, squeal! I watched her. Her smile was bright, but her eyes were calculating. She was making a list. Who gave what? Who spent what? My turn came. She picked up my box. The heavy one with the crystal. She ripped the paper. Oh, she said. Glasses. She didn't squeal. She looked at the card. From Bella, she announced to the room. She held them up for a second. Nice. Then she handed them to a bridesmaid who put them on the done pile. And she was on to the next gift. Nice. I drove home from the shower feeling small and stupid and, more than anything, poor. But still, I was going to the wedding. I bought the wine-colored dress. I spent a whole Saturday looking for it. It was agony. I went to a department store. I couldn't get something too nice. I couldn't, God forbid, look better than a bridesmaid. Chloe would have a fit. But I couldn't get something too plain, or Mom would give me that look. The "oh, Bella, you're not even trying" look. It was an impossible line to walk. I finally found it. A simple, long, wine-colored dress. Elegant, appropriate, safe, invisible. The night before the wedding, I was in my apartment in Boston. I was packing my overnight bag. I laid out the dress. I had my shoes. I had the small silver gift box I was going to put a separate little something in. I was filled with that old, familiar, sick knot of anxiety. The "here we go again" feeling. My phone buzzed. It was on my bed next to my suitcase. I looked at it. A text. From Mom. "Please, Bella. Just for me. Tomorrow is Chloe's day. Don't make this about you." I stared at the screen. The blue light of the phone was the only light in my room. Don't make this about you. My hand started to shake. When had I ever made anything about me? When had I ever been allowed to? My simple act of existing was a threat. My presence, my quiet, invisible, easy-to-handle presence, was a problem to be managed. Just by being there, I was a risk. I might pull focus. I might have a facial expression that wasn't 100% pure. Unadulterated adoration for St. Chloe. I might, God forbid, look sad or quiet and make someone, an outsider, a guest, ask me if I was okay. And that would be a disaster. My job was to show up, smile, be easy, and not make it about me. As if just existing in the same room as Chloe might ruin her perfect daughter's day. I sat on my bed for a long time. I thought about not going. I thought about throwing my phone at the wall. Instead, I picked it up. My fingers were cold. I texted her back. "Okay, Mom. I won't." I turned off my phone, finished packing my bag, and tried to get some sleep. The knot in my stomach felt like a rock. I sat in that hallway for almost 30 minutes. It felt like a year. I sat on the wobbly metal chair next to the buzzing ice machine. The kitchen doors, swoosh, clap, burst open every few minutes. A waiter rushed past carrying a huge tray of tiny, fancy-looking appetizers. "Watch it, hun," he said, not even looking at me. Another one came out. "Table 12 needs bread now." I was in the way. I was a piece of furniture that had been left in the wrong spot. I was an obstacle. My feet were cold. The thin carpet did nothing to stop the chill from the floor. My wine-colored dress felt thin and stupid. Through the glass-paned doors at the end of the hall, I could see the party. I could see the golden light. I could hear the muffled thump-thump-thump of the string quartet. I could see people, my family, laughing. I saw my Aunt Karen, her head thrown back, laughing at something my uncle said. I saw my mother. She was fixing Chloe's veil. She looked happy. Her face was glowing. I hadn't seen her look that happy in years. I saw my father standing with Noah's father. They were holding glasses of champagne, nodding, smiling. No one had come to find me. No one had looked for me. No one had even noticed I was missing. That was the part that hurt the most. They weren't just ignoring me. They had genuinely, completely forgotten about me. I was not a person at this party. I was not a sister or a daughter. I was just a name on a list. And they had put that name next to the ice machine. My face was hot. I could feel the tears, sharp and stinging, behind my eyes. I refused to cry. I would not cry. Not here. Not in a service hallway. I pulled my phone out. No service. Of course, I was completely, totally alone. I was adjusting my dress. I was trying to decide. What was the easy-to-handle thing to do? Do I stay? Do I sit here all night, like a dog waiting for someone to remember me? Do I go in? Do I walk into that ballroom, find my mother, and say, "Hi, Mom. You put me in the hallway." I cringed. I could see her face. The polite, strained smile. The low, hissing whisper. "Bella, don't. You're making a scene. Just find a seat, go, stand in the back. Don't make this about you. Do I leave? Do I just stand up, walk out to my car, drive back to Boston and block all their numbers?" That was the tempting one. I was just about to do it. I was just about to stand up and leave. I had my purse in my lap. I had the little silver gift box in my hand, and then I heard her. "Well, well. Look at you." The voice was light, airy, and it cut right through me. I looked up. It was Chloe. She was a vision. I'll give her that. Her dress must have cost more than my car. It was covered in lace and thousands of tiny pearls. Her blonde hair was swept up in a way that looked both effortless and like it cost $1,000. Her makeup was perfect. She looked like a princess. A mean, petty princess. She was adjusting her dress, her massive white veil trailing behind her. Her bouquet of white roses trembled slightly in her hand. She looked at me. Then she looked at the wobbly table. Then she looked at the buzzing ice machine. Then she looked back at me. And she smiled. It was that smile. It was the smile I had seen my whole life. It was the smile she gave me when she was 7, right after she told Mom that I was the one who broke the antique vase. It was the smile she gave me in high school when the boy I liked asked her to the prom. It was a smile that said, "I win. I always win. You always lose. Hallway seating, huh?" she said. Her voice was just dripping with fake sweet poison. I just stared at her. I couldn't find any words. My throat was closed. She laughed, a little tinkling sound. "Guess it's where you belong." And then, something inside me snapped. It was quiet. It wasn't loud or dramatic. It was a tiny, cold click. It was the spell I had been under my whole life, the spell that told me to be quiet, to be polite, to be the bigger person, to be the easy one, to understand, the spell that whispered, if you just take one more hit, if you just absorb one more insult, if you just swallow one more humiliation, then, maybe they will love you. It was the hope of a child. And I was 29 years old, Chloe's words. Guess it's where you belong. They weren't even an insult. They were the truth. They were the most honest thing anyone in my family had ever said to me. I didn't belong. I didn't belong in that hallway, waiting for scraps of affection. I didn't belong at this wedding. I didn't belong in that family. For a second, I almost laughed. The sheer, ridiculous, brutal honesty of it all. They had finally stopped pretending. I looked at Chloe, her perfect, smiling, cruel face. "You're right, Chloe," I said. My voice was calm. It didn't even shake. It was a voice I had never heard before. Her smile faltered for just a second. She wasn't used to me agreeing. She was used to me looking hurt. She was waiting for the tears. She was waiting for me to crumble. I didn't. I stood up. The metal folding chair made a scraping, pathetic sound against the floor. I picked up my purse. I picked up the small silver gift box I had been holding. "Congratulations," I said. "You look beautiful." I walked past her. I didn't run. I didn't cry. I just walked. I could feel her watching me. I could feel her confusion. This wasn't part of her script. I was supposed to sit there and take it. I was supposed to be the victim. What she didn't know was that in that 1 second, with that one insult, she had set me free. The spell was broken. I wasn't the quiet one anymore. I wasn't the easy one. I was just done. And I wasn't leaving empty-handed. I stood up. The metal folding chair made a scraping, pathetic sound against the floor. "You're right, Chloe," I said. My voice was calm. It was so calm it scared me. It was a voice I didn't recognize. It wasn't the voice of the quiet one. It wasn't the voice of the easy one. It was the voice of someone who had just stepped out of a burning building and was looking back at the flames. Chloe's perfect, cruel smile faltered. This wasn't in her script. Her script was that she would poke me and I would flinch. She would throw an insult, and I would absorb it. My shoulders rounding, my eyes dropping to the floor. I would sit there, hurt, and she would walk away, victorious, back to her party, having confirmed her place in the universe by reminding me of mine. I wasn't supposed to agree with her. "What?" she said, the airy, light tone gone. "You're right," I repeated, picking up my purse. My hands were perfectly steady. "I don't belong here." I picked up the small silver gift box from the wobbly table. It was heavy in my hand. It felt like a stone. "Congratulations," I said. "You look beautiful." I walked past her. I didn't brush her, but I didn't move to give her extra space either. For the first time, I just took up my own space. I walked down the service hallway, my heels clicking on the floor. I could feel her watching me. I could feel the heat of her confused rage on my back. I didn't care. The spell, the one I had lived under for 29 years, was broken. The spell was that I had to be nice. I had to understand. I had to be the bigger person, which, in my family, was just code for "shut up, Bella," and let Chloe win. The spell was that if I just kept being quiet, kept being good, kept being invisible, one day they would see me. One day they would finally turn around and say, "Wow, Bella, you've been so patient. It's your turn." It was a stupid, childish hope. They would never see me because they had never, not once, looked for me. I pushed open the heavy main doors of the lodge. The Vermont air outside was sharp. It was so cold it felt like a slap, but a good slap. A slap that said, "Wake up." It hit my face, and it felt like a blessing. It smelled clean. It smelled like pine trees and cold water, not floor wax and Chloe's expensive, suffocating perfume. It smelled like freedom. The lake was glittering under a full moon, and the silence was huge. I stood there, under the bright yellow light of the lodge's entrance, and I looked down at the silver box in my hand. I have to tell you about the box. This wasn't a plan. I'm not a villain from a movie, plotting in the shadows. I'm a marketing consultant from Boston. I organize spreadsheets. I call my dentist. I'm not this, but I had found the screenshots. It happened 2 months ago. It was a Tuesday. Chloe had called me, her voice frantic. Bella, I'm dying. I'm literally dying under all this planning. The website is a mess. The photo share thing isn't working. Noah is useless at this stuff. Can you just fix it, please? You're so good at computer stuff. Good at computer stuff. I'm a digital marketing manager. But to her, I was just good at computer stuff. I can't, Chloe. I have a big Please, she'd wailed. I'll owe you. Big time. I can't. I'll send you all the passwords. And like a fool, like I always do, I said yes. I wanted to be helpful. I wanted to be the supportive sister. So I spent my Tuesday night after a 10-hour workday logging into my sister's wedding website. She had given me her personal email password to link the accounts. Just don't read anything? She'd laughed. I wasn't going to. I'm not a snoop, but when I logged in, I saw a message thread with a name I knew. Madison. Her old college roommate. The subject line was, "He bought it." I should have ignored it. I should have done the one thing I was there to do and logged out. But I clicked it. I don't know why. Maybe, after 29 years, my subconscious was just tired. My blood went cold as I read. It wasn't 1 or 2 messages. It was months of them. A running commentary. Chloe. He's so easy. Cry a little, he buys anything. Madison. LMAO. Is he dumb? Chloe. No, He's nice, which is code for dumb. But his family is loaded. That's the real wedding gift, LOL. My stomach twisted. I kept scrolling. Chloe. The house will be mine by Christmas. I'm making sure my name is on the deed before I even unpack. Mom said to make sure of that. Mom said that. Chloe. Honestly, I'm not even that attracted to him. He's so plain. But he's stable and rich. And he adores me, which is the important part. That's better than hot and poor, right? Madison, get it, girl. Secure the bag. Chloe. I just have to play the part of the happy bride for a few more months. Then I'm set. He's so easy to fool. He just wants to take care of me. Ugh, fine, take care of me. Buy me the house. Buy me the car. I'll just let him. I sat there in my quiet Boston apartment staring at my computer screen. I felt sick. Physically sick. Noah. He was a good person. He was an architect, quiet and kind. He wasn't plain. He was solid. He was the kind of man you could rely on. And he looked at my sister like she was the sun. He was so open with his affection for her, so proud, and she was playing him. She was playing his entire family, and my mother knew I took screenshots. I clicked and I clicked and I clicked. I captured every single message. I saved them to a folder. I printed them out. My first thought was to send them to Noah. Anonymously, but then I stopped. Who was I? I was the jealous, quiet sister. That's what Chloe would say. That's what my mother would say. Oh, Bella, you're just trying to ruin her happiness. You're making it about you. You're just bitter. They would turn it around. They would make me the villain. They were experts at it, so I did nothing. I put the printed screenshots in a manila envelope and shoved them in the back of my desk drawer, under my old tax returns. And then last night, Mom's text. Don't make this about you. After I got that text, I pulled the envelope out. I looked at the screenshots. I had bought a gift for Noah's mother. I was trying so hard to be good. I'd bought a small, elegant silver-plated box from a boutique. I was going to put a pair of pearl earrings in it. Instead, I took the earrings out. I folded the screenshots. I put them in the box. I didn't put a card in it. I didn't put a name on it. I brought it with me. I hadn't planned to use it. I swear, I think I just needed to hold the truth in my hand. I needed a physical reminder that I wasn't crazy, that my family was this cruel, that she was the problem, not me. It was my secret, my one little piece of armor. But then she stood there in her princess dress and told me I belonged in the hallway, and I realized the truth didn't belong in my purse. It didn't belong in my desk drawer in Boston. It belonged to Noah. I turned around. I stood there in the cold, holding the box, and I made a decision. I wasn't leaving. Not yet. I took a deep breath. I walked back inside the lodge. The coordinator, the one with the clipboard, was in the lobby talking into her headset. She looked surprised to see me. Are you all right, Ms. Hayes? She asked, her voice laced with fake concern. I gave her a small, tight smile. I just needed some air. I forgot to put my gift on the table. I walked past her. I walked past the entrance to my sad, cold hallway. I walked straight to the main doors of the ballroom. They were propped open. The warmth and the noise hit me again. A string quartet was playing something light and happy. This time I didn't stop at the edge. I walked right in. The contrast was staggering. Outside in the hallway, it was cold, silent, and lonely. Inside this room, it was a different universe. It was loud. It was warm. It was golden. The chandeliers were dripping with what looked like real crystal, casting a soft, buttery light over everyone. The flowers were insane, piles and piles of white roses and green ferns climbing the walls, covering every table. The air smelled thick with them, mixed with expensive wine and food, and the people. Everyone was beautiful. The men in their sharp tuxedos, the women in their bright, flowing dresses. They were all laughing, their teeth white in the golden light. For a second, I felt the old pull, the old familiar shame, the feeling of being the one girl in the wrong dress, the one who didn't get the joke. Then I remembered the hallway. I remembered the ice machine. My spine stiffened. I wasn't that girl anymore. I was just a woman delivering a message. The gift table was right inside the door. It was a huge, round table, draped in white satin, and it was piled high. Huge boxes from Crate & Barrel. Flat, elegant envelopes from Tiffany's. It was a monument to my sisters and Noah's new, wealthy life together. My eyes scanned the room, and I saw them. They were on the dance floor. It was their first dance. The string quartet was playing. Chloe was wrapped in Noah's arms. Her head was tilted back and she was laughing that tinkling fake laugh that I hated. He was whispering in her ear and his face. His face is what broke my heart. He looked happy, but not just happy. He looked safe. He looked like he had finally, after a lifetime, found the one person who understood him. He looked at her with a kind of adoration, a kind of blind, total trust that I had only ever read about in books. He was a good man. He was an architect. He built things. He built sturdy, honest, beautiful things. And he thought he was building a life with a woman who loved him. He was building his life on a lie. He's so easy. Cry a little. He buys anything. His family is loaded. I'm not even that attracted to him. The words echoed in my head. I looked from his trusting, open face to her beautiful, lying one. And the last little bit of hesitation I had, it just evaporated. This wasn't revenge. I kept telling myself that. This wasn't about hurting Chloe. This was about saving Noah. This wasn't an attack. It was a warning. It was the fire alarm. I walked straight to the gift table. People were watching the dance floor. No one was watching me. The invisible sister. I had been invisible for 29 years, and now, finally, I was going to use it. It was my one single superpower. I looked at the pile of gifts. I didn't hide the box. I didn't tuck it in the back. I saw a huge, obnoxious, beautifully wrapped box, topped with a giant white bow. I took my small, heavy, plain silver box, and I placed it right on top. It was small. It was elegant. It was unavoidable. It sat there, gleaming in the chandelier light. My heart was pounding. Thump, thump, thump. It was so loud. I was sure someone could hear it, but no one did. I turned around. I walked out of the ballroom. I didn't run. I walked. I kept my head high. I walked past the laughing, beautiful people. I walked past the bar where guests were ordering more champagne. I walked through the lobby. The coordinator was busy with another guest. I walked out the front doors of the lodge. The cold air hit me again. I didn't look back. I got into my car. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely get the key into the ignition. I fumbled it twice. On the third try, it clicked. The engine turned over. The heater blasted on. I sat there for a full minute, just breathing. In, out. In, out. I pulled out of the parking spot. But I didn't drive away. Not yet. I couldn't. I pulled down the long driveway and drove to a little scenic overlook just down the road. It was maybe a quarter mile away. You could still see the lodge. It was all lit up, like a perfect little dollhouse, glowing against the dark Vermont hills. The windows of the ballroom were huge. From here I could see right in. I turned my car engine off. The silence of the night rushed in. I sat there, in my car, in the dark, and I watched. I could see them. Little figures moving around. The dance had ended. People were going back to their tables. Waiters were moving. It was like watching a movie with no sound. I saw them toast. Little figures raising their glasses, laughing, twirling. The perfect fairy tale, playing out under glass. I sat there for 5 minutes. 10. I was just about to leave. I was just about to decide that it was over, that nothing would happen, that the box would get lost in the pile, that I had failed. And then, it happened. The music stopped. It didn't fade. It just cut off. I couldn't hear it, but I saw it. I saw the band put their instruments down. Abruptly, the chandeliers, which had been dimmed for the dancing, suddenly flashed on. Full power. Bright, harsh, interrogation light. I saw every little figure in the room stop moving. I saw them all turn their heads. Like a flock of birds, all turning to look at the same thing. They were looking at the head table. I saw a figure standing. Noah. I saw another figure. My mother. Her hand flying to her mouth. I saw my father. He just looked at the floor. And then, I saw the shape of my sister's face. Her mouth was open, and even from that distance, a quarter mile away, across the cold, dark water, I heard it. It was a scream. It wasn't a scream of fear. It wasn't a scream of pain. It was a scream of pure animal rage. It was the sound of a cornered, spoiled, vicious thing that had just been caught. It was thin and high, and it echoed across the lake. It was Chloe. I put my car in gear. I didn't turn my headlights on, not yet. It's done, I whispered. A cold, strange, empty peace washed over me. I wasn't happy. I wasn't sad. I was just finished. My phone was in my purse, turned off. I left it there. I didn't want to hear from anyone. I just wanted to drive. I pulled onto the dark highway heading south, and I didn't look back. I drove for an hour in complete, total silence. No music. No podcast. Just the hum of the tires on the dark highway and the thump, thump, thump of my own heart, which was finally starting to slow down. I was just empty. It was a good kind of empty. It was the feeling you get when you've finally cleaned out a closet that's been packed with junk for 20 years. It was empty. It was clean. It was ready. I didn't know what I was ready for. I just knew I was. I was almost to the Massachusetts border when I finally pulled into a brightly lit 24-hour gas station. My hands were stiff from gripping the wheel. My legs felt shaky as I got out. The air was cold. I went inside, bought a bottle of water and a bag of pretzels I didn't want. I got back in my car. I sat there, under the humming fluorescent lights of the gas station canopy, and I turned my phone on. It was a mistake. It was like opening a dam. The phone didn't just buzz. It vibrated so hard it almost jumped out of my hand. It lit up, went dark, lit up again. Notifications, hundreds of them, texts, voicemails, missed calls. I stared at it, my heart pounding again, but this time with a different kind of dread. I clicked on the voicemails first. There were so many. My mother, my father, Chloe again, an aunt, an uncle, a cousin. I clicked on the first one I saw. Aunt Karen, my mother's sister. She was always the family's town crier. Her voice came bursting out of the speaker, so loud I almost dropped the phone. She was hysterical. Bella! Bella, what have you done? What did you do? Oh my God, Bella, it was horrifying! It's a disaster. You've ruined it! You've ruined everything! She took a huge, sobbing breath. Oh, Bella. Noah's mother, Eleanor, she stood up after the toasts. She was holding a little silver box. Your box, Bella? Is it yours? She told them to open it. She made them. In front of everyone. I was gripping the steering wheel. My knuckles were white. And Noah, he opened it. And Chloe, oh, Bella, they read it. They read what was inside. I don't know what it was, something about money and a house. And then another sob. Noah, his face. He just dropped the papers, Bella. They went everywhere. And he looked at Chloe and he said, it's all real. He said it so loud, Bella. Every word. And all the young people, all her friends, they had their phones out. They were recording it. Recording it! My stomach was in knots. I felt sick. And your mother, she just froze. And your father, he just looked at the floor like he always does. The whole family, Bella, humiliated. And Chloe, she just collapsed. I hung up. I couldn't listen to any more of Aunt Karen. I scrolled through the texts. Uncle Mark, this is not how the Hayes family behaves. Bella, you are a disgrace. Cousin Sarah, you are sick. You've always been jealous, but this is evil. Sick Aunt Karen, text. Call me. Your mother is asking for you. It's a mess. And then, Mom. A wall of texts. 10, 20. Where are you? You need to come back here. Come back here and fix this. What did you do? Chloe is beside herself. You have ruined your sister's life. You have ruined this family. After everything we did for you. You were always so jealous. You were always so difficult. You made it about you. You finally did it. You made it all about you. Are you happy? I read them, one by one. And the strangest thing was, they didn't hurt. For the first time in my life, her words had no power. It was like I was reading a script from a play I didn't want to be in anymore. Ruined her life? I thought, staring at the text. Or, revealed it? Everything you did for me? You mean, ignored me? You mean, erased me? Jealous? No, I wasn't jealous. I was just done. They weren't mad that Chloe did it. They were mad that I revealed it. They weren't horrified by the lie. They were horrified that the secret was out. The collapse Aunt Karen was talking about. It wasn't just Chloe. It was the entire family structure. It was the lie they had all agreed to live by. The lie was, Chloe is perfect. Chloe is the star. We must all protect Chloe. Bella is quiet. Bella doesn't matter. That was the lie. And I had just told the truth. I had pulled the one single string that was holding their whole fake, rotten tapestry together, and the entire thing had just unraveled. I took a deep breath. I was still shaking, but it wasn't fear. It was adrenaline. I saw a new voicemail pop up from my father. My finger hovered over it. He never called. He never called. I clicked it. His voice was quiet, not hysterical like Aunt Karen's, not angry like Mom's texts, just tired. "Bella," he said, and then a long sigh. "Bella, we need to talk. Your mother she's a mess, Chloe. It's bad, Bella. It's real bad." A pause. You should have. "I don't know, Bella. I don't know." He hung up. "I don't know." That was my father. In the middle of the biggest explosion in our family's history, he just didn't know. He was a ghost. He was as invisible as I was, but he had chosen it. I clicked on the last text. It was from a number I didn't recognize. "This is Eleanor, Noah's mother. Thank you. You did the right thing. Do not engage with them. Be safe." I stared at that text. "Thank you. You did the right thing." One line of truth. From a stranger. It was worth more than 29 years of lies from my own family. The collapse was real, but I wasn't the one who was buried in the rubble. I was the one who had finally crawled out. I didn't drive home. Not right away. I sat in that gas station parking lot for, I don't know, a long time. I read Eleanor's text again. "You did the right thing." I wanted to believe her. My phone buzzed again. A new voicemail. "Aunt Karen, Part 2, I sighed. But I clicked it. I needed to know. I needed to know the rest of the story. "Bella!" she shrieked as if no time had passed. "You're not answering!" "Your mother is. They had to give her a pill, to calm her down. And, you're not going to believe what happened after." I turned the volume down. She was still yelling. "After Noah, after he, and the papers were everywhere. Chloe, she blamed you." I closed my eyes. Of course she did. She stood up. Aunt Karen's voice was a high-pitched, gossipy whisper now. Her dress was, it was ruined. Mascara everywhere. She looked like a crazy person. And she pointed. She pointed at the door where you left, and she shrieked, Bella did this. She planted it. She's always been jealous. She's trying to ruin my life." Aunt Karen took a breath. "And Bella, your mother, she jumped right in." She ran over to Chloe and she was agreeing with her. She said, "Oh, Chloe, sweetheart, we all know Bella can be difficult. She's not well. Bella, she said you weren't well. She was going to throw you right under the bus to save the scene." I felt a sharp, cold stab. My own mother, even then. Even with the truth splattered all over the room, all over the internet probably. Her first, last, and only instinct was to protect Chloe, even if it meant sacrificing me. She's not well. But then, Bella, Aunt Karen's voice was full of drama. "This is the craziest part. Noah's mother, Eleanor, that woman. She is ice, Bella, pure ice." She stepped right up. She stepped between your mother and Chloe, and she put her hand up. And she said, "Stop. Just stop." And your mother, she stopped. She just shut her mouth. And Eleanor. She looked at Chloe and she said, "I received those exact messages anonymously weeks ago." My heart stopped. "What?" Aunt Karen was rambling. And, she said, "I didn't want to believe them. I thought no one could be this cruel, this calculating. So, Bella, she hired a private investigator." The gas station suddenly felt very small. The air was thick. Eleanor knew. She knew, Bella. Aunt Karen shrieked, confirming my thought. "She knew it all." She said. He confirmed it. Every word. And she said, "We were giving you tonight, Chloe, one last chance. We were hoping, praying, that you would show 1 ounce of genuine love for my son. Instead, you showed us exactly who you are." I was speechless. This wasn't my bomb. It was Eleanor's. I just lit the fuse. I was the catalyst. I was the anonymous source. No, wait. Eleanor said she received them weeks ago. I looked at the text on my phone from Eleanor. Thank you. You did the right thing. Did she send them to herself? No, that didn't make sense. Anonymously, maybe I wasn't the only one Chloe had bragged to. Maybe Madison, the roommate, had a conscience. It didn't matter. The point was, the reckoning was already in motion. I hadn't started it. I had just finished it. I was the final public confirmation of a truth they already knew. And then, Bella, Aunt Karen was not done. And then, your father, I've never, he stepped forward, and your mother said, "Sweetheart, please, let's go." And your father, he put a hand on her arm, and he said, "No, just, no." I've never heard him use that tone. "No, stop. Let her face it." The phone almost slipped from my hand. My father, my quiet, passive, invisible father. The man who looked at the floor. No, let her face it. He didn't do it for me. He wasn't defending me, he was just letting go. He was finally, after 29 years, letting go of the rope. He was letting Chloe and my mother and the whole stupid, toxic charade just fall. He stopped playing his part. That was the real reckoning. That, in its own way, was more shocking than the annulment. And then Noah, Aunt Karen was winding down. He pulled out more papers, Bella, from his pocket. Like a magic trick. A horrible, horrible magic trick. And he put them on the cake table. And he said, "These are annulment papers." "Annulment, Bella!" And he took his ring off. And he put it on the cake. And then he just walked away. The voicemail ended. I sat there, in the buzzing silence of the gas station. The reckoning. It wasn't just Chloe's. It was my mother's. It was my father's. It was mine. The family. The one I had known. It was gone. It had imploded. Chloe had been exposed. My mother had been silenced. My father had spoken. And I was sitting in a gas station, on the border, with a bottle of water and a text from a woman who understood. I put my phone down. I started the car. I knew, with a certainty that was as clear as the cold night air, that I was never going home again. Not to that home. I put the car in gear and pulled out onto the highway, heading south, heading to my home, Boston. By the time I reached the highway, the scream had faded into the distance. My phone buzzed nonstop, calls from Mom, messages from relatives. I didn't answer any of them. At dawn, I stood by my apartment window, watching sunlight spill over Boston Harbor. The same silence that once meant rejection now felt like freedom. I whispered to the reflection in the glass. I didn't ruin her day. She did. And for the first time, I believed it. If you've ever been pushed to the hallway of your own family story, tell me where you're watching from. Because sometimes walking away is the loudest kind of justice.